Hey, speaking, I guess we should get into actual like news stuff. Ew, news? Ew, gross. Gamescom. Wait, the Gamecom. Is it con or com? I'm having a games com. It is com. That stands for the Games Convention. It happened a little while ago, like this past week, and there's been a ton of news, and most of it I don't care about. I didn't watch it. It came as a surprise to me. Excuse me. Because I'm pretty sure all that news dropped in the window where I was spending like 4 days trying to get this stupid fucking Mortal Kombat tier list video up. There was a little bit of Mortal Kombat news. Am I thinking of anything? Nah, nothing that really interested me that much. New Shao Kahn looks good. Sorry, General Shao. But also, and kind of how what really tipped me off to the Gamescom even happening, because I was in such a bubble for those few days, new Space Marine 2 footage, and a decent amount of it. So Gamescom, big place to show off games, stuff that's generally already in production, which is really neat. E3 always banked on the big announcements, and that has kind of gone the way of the dodo. I think Gamescom focuses more on it's a press event. There might be some amount of it that's open to the public. It's like a press event, and it's mainly for things that are showing off things that have already been announced. That, oh, you want to see more footage of it? You want to see more footage of Space Marine 2? Yes, I would like to see some, because we've gotten so little. We know that it exists, and there's Tyranids. So the new footage is... It's not great. Okay. So I don't know who recorded the footage. I don't think it was IGN. I was tempted to blame this on IGN because they did a similar thing when Bolt Gun came out. And I remember when IGN put out like 7 minutes of Bolt Gun gameplay, and the game looked bad. They made the game look really bad. It looked sluggish and weird and choppy. Not performance-wise, but gameplay-wise. I was like, ooh. And then I played it, and no, the game actually plays really well. It's just that it becomes incredibly repetitive after the halfway point. This, I fear, is a similar situation. I hope it's a similar situation, actually, because the footage is kind of boring and uneventful. Yeah, uneventful. So, one thing you gotta know is, so what are my expectations going to Space Marine 2? I'm expecting it to be stylistically, at least in a lot of ways, stylistically a successor to the original game. Space Marine it's an extremely linear 7th gen third person shooter. It's a very pretty Warhammer themed roller coaster. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm expecting, Space Marine 2 to be very linear, very like you're shuttled down a very pretty looking hallway, a very extravagant looking hallway, and you're going to do a lot of things, and it's going to be like 8 hours. It's going to be like 8, maybe 10 hours. It's going to be short. All I want it to be is short and sweet, and with some solid gameplay, and let me walk around cool 40k locations. So there's a couple things that I really like about this gameplay that I'll go into first. So number one, the Tyranids have been given their zombies. Well, so they're not zombies. Okay. So the producer or developer of it, is... Why do I keep thinking it's Relic? It's not Relic. It's not Relic. It's Saber. It's Saber Interactive. Saber Interactive is known for the World War Z game. Not really. I forgot that was game. But they made the 2019 World War Z game, which had, I guess, some kind of engine tools built for it, where they to control like the zombie horde AI, just these big, massive zombie hordes. Man, this game looks generic. Someone in the comments is going to tell me it's actually a hidden gem. They've taken that same engine that they used for the zombie hordes, and they've applied it to the Tyranids as a base, as a very base for the AI, and it's a great choice. The Tyranids are the premier swarming army of 40k. I guess besides the guard, but I mean the Tyranids really are like, they're a swarm of bugs. They're the Zerg. Well, they're what the Zerg was. The Zerg ripped the Tyranids off. You know, the Tyranids are like the swarm, rush you down faction race in 40k, and having them act like this gigantic horde. Like, there's some great shots where you see them all like climbing up a ravine, and they're all climbing on top of each other and skittering up, and it looks, it's like the flow of the bodies is great, like water. Portions, there's scenes where they look up, and there's all these, winged Tyranids flying around, and the swarm, and it looks awesome. It looks great. It looks like actual animals hunting in a pack, but just magnified to like a ridiculous scope. And 40k is about excess. So that is really, really cool. I like the fact that there is... So the one of the ways the Tyranids have worked, at least for the longest time on the tabletop, is that they are a swarming army, but within a unit is always a collection of models, of little individual pieces in 40k. It's not an individual piece itself. Units are made up of models or pieces or miniatures, whatever you want to call them. So within a Tyranid unit, they'll usually have what is called they'll have all the little like swarmers, but there will be kind of like a leader unit within them. And the leader unit has like a trait called like synapse, is what it's usually been called. And synapse essentially links them to the swarm that they're around. So the Tyranids they're a big hive mind, but they need these bigger leader units to act as nodes to help command and regulate the overall swarm and flow of the hive mind. And if you kill on the tabletop, if you kill that synapse leader unit within the group, you will. Well, it's always some kind of. It usually incurs some kind of big penalty to that group. It's like, oh, they'll. Now I have to mute another Discord server because it's distracting me. You have to some kind of big penalty. Either like the morale will drop, which means that the members of the unit can just like desert and flee, or they have a higher chance to. So you'll just get like I think in 10th edition it might work. I don't know how Tyranids work in 10th edition, but because 10th edition had some changes to the morale and all that. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the tabletop game. I just know the broad strokes. That's generally how it works, and that's been translated into this game with basically these segments where there's a big, just all these little swarming Tyranid like termagants, and they're just flooding the battlefield, and there'll be these bigger units whose names I forget, the Rippers, I want to say. And those are sort of like the bigger, taller units, and you can, if you make your way through the pack to the Rippers, you can have like you can kind of aggro them into this one-on-one fight, and then if you kill them, and that fight, it seems like it uses a lot more of the mechanics. Dodging, there's parrying, there's like, if you get like a success, it's like if you get a successful dodge or parry, I forgot exactly what, you get like a quick draw pistol shot against them, which is pretty cool looking. And then if you kill them, it sends out kind of like a psychic shock that kills some of the like termagants and little swarmer units around them. So it's like taking out. You got to get through the big pack to the Synapse leader guy, the big elite enemy, and then if you manage to kill them, then that kind of thins the pack out a bit, which is an interesting dynamic to have for combat scenarios. And I imagine, so part of like the Tyranids' MO is that they're all about biomass and being a hive mind and constant rapid evolution. So because they're a hive mind, if one Tyranid dies, its memories are not lost with it. It's all held within the collective. So once a group of them is done, they'll return to the, like, oh god, I forget what they're called. They return. They have these giant. They're ships. They aren't really ships because again they're basically just these big organisms, like these big squids, and they get into the orbit of a planet and shoot parts of it down, and then those like crash land and then spawn out, birth out like the actual Tyranids. The little individual ones. So they go back to that like spawning hub nest hive thing, and then they assimilate back into it, and then all of their memories and the combat and all that is kind of fed in, and then it spits out a new generation of Tyranids. And this is all happening at like a rapid rate, like over the course of days and weeks. And the new ones have new evolutions to adapt, basically to adapt better to the specific methods that have killed the previous generations. So I imagine over the course of the game, assuming the Tyranids stay the main villains, which I doubt, but it would be neat. It would be neat to just have a Warhammer story where the Tyranids get to, they aren't just like, here's the initial threat, and then, oh, it was chaos. Chaos was behind it all. Or Chaos is like Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine's behind it all. I imagine over the course of the game, they will introduce new Tyranid variants and new Tyranid enemies based off of maybe it's, I doubt it's going to be adaptive to the actual things the player is doing. More so just, hey, here's the reason why there's new forms of Tyranids that are showing up that you weren't seeing before. It's because they just that's the new generation, and I'm willing to bet you it's going to be oh hey, a brand new Tyranid, just like the new Tyranids introduced in the brand spanking new 10th edition Tyranid line. With their shiny new models that you can buy now from Games Workshop. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of marketing tie-in. But hey, I think the new Tyranids actually look pretty cool. The new miniatures do. So, that stuff is great. That stuff is really cool. I think that stuff's interesting. The new combat has a lot of ideas that I've heard it described by a couple different outlets. And they were all very... Okay, here's why I have a little faith. Here's why I have faith that this is a bolt gun situation. Is that all of them described very good things about the combat and how fun it was, and you know, it's pretty simple and straightforward, but the satisfying, some cool little nifty stuff thrown in, like the dodging and the parrying, and some stuff just to test timing. So that is encouraging. The atmosphere is great. It's a beautiful looking game. Just the effects on the mud, the particles, the lighting effects. Just the sheer amount of bodies that are on screen, moving and doing stuff. The battlefield ambience is great. It's so cool. And this is where we get into why the gameplay that they showed off was bad. It's bad because it looks boring. The game looks boring. It seems like, having played the original, it feels like if you took the original and played it in the least interesting way possible, in the slowest, least interesting way possible, and also edited the footage together in the most blue-balling way you ever could. I swear to God, every single time any kind of action starts up in this gameplay footage, this gameplay quote-unquote footage, it just starts cutting. They get like a few shots in. Oh, they kill 2 Tyranids. Hey, we're gonna cut to the next scene. I'm like, what? No, show me that stuff. Show me what the combat encounters are like. That's what the game is about. Space Marine, the original Space Marine, was a series of arenas that were split up by little walking segments for breathing time. That's the whole game. That's what was fun about it. Is that it was this fast-paced, very direct, shoot you through a funnel kind of experience. They're just showing me the funnel. Or they're just showing me the little in-between bits, which look nice, you know? But man, they are really stopping to look around and pan the camera and stay, and they are not running. There's a run button in this game, and they're not using it. They're walking, and they're doing everything very slowly, and they're playing very methodically. I'm like, you are not selling this game. You are selling this game very poorly. And I want to have faith. I want to have faith that it will actually be cool and fun and pretty fast-paced and visceral like the original game. And just, some dumb fun like that one. The footage is not inspiring, but the testimonies from the people... I believe that's dev footage. The testimonies from the actual people who played it are much more positive and don't really reflect the boring parts of the trailer. Or it wasn't trailer, it was footage. Unless that was journalist footage. I think someone called it journo gameplay, which is absolutely 100% right. That is journo gameplay. So that's yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it still comes out this year. It's weird that there hasn't been a whole lot of... It's weird that there's been so much silence on it. Maybe they just don't have a lot of opportunities to... Maybe they want to wait for these kind of bigger shows to release some gameplay or a trailer or something like that. But yeah, a lot of silence since this game was announced like a year or 2 ago. I'm still excited. I'm still looking for... I still plan on purchasing it. It just, it was like, man, I was really caught up. I'm like, man, this game does look really nice. Yeah, I don't trust the gameplay. I don't trust the gameplay they've shown off so far. But I look forward to it. Would I be really I don't know, man. Would I be disappointed if there was like some kind of twist, like, it was actually chaos, which it always is. It always is. I mean, that was what Space Marine 1 was. It's, hey, there's this orc invasion of a hive world. It's a forge world specifically. Go stop it. Actually, the villain is chaos. There's a demon and chaos space marines, and it's neat, but it's like, all right, how many are we gonna do this in every 40k story? I wanted to be something crazy. I wanted to be like, what would be more interesting is like, it's the Tyranids, but actually it's the Drukhari. That would be interesting. I'm like, shit, okay. Drukhari? Okay. It's interesting. They're the BDSM dark elves. And they're the most evil people in the entire galaxy, which is saying a lot for 40k. They're the most evil people. They're probably worse than the gods of hell in the 40k universe. That would be interesting, yeah. That would be an interesting, like, enemy type. Yeah, so Space Marine 2 footage does not look good, but I have faith for the game.